So everybody's clear. Okay, great. All right, then we are moving on to agenda item 4, which is a discussion and action regarding Charter Review Committee recommendations to the Board of Supervisors on amendments to the county charter. The first one is number A, and this is an amendment to board procedures for appointments to fill vacancies in elected office. So we have had a presentation already from this committee, and I am going to, you just give me 1 second. I'm going to turn it over to the committee chair, who is Ileana Rodriguez, and then her subcommittee members are Lillian Perez Avila and Julie Lind. So since we have had a presentation on this, I would like to bring up the specific slide that talks about the charter language.
And I will actually be reporting out on behalf of the group since Ileana is remote. But as you are bringing up the top line slide in the PowerPoint, ours is pretty quick and dirty. So the proposal is to amend the amount of time that is currently in the charter for the board to complete an appointment process, which is listed at 30 days. We're looking to have that expanded to 60 days. We're also looking to have written into the verbiage about the appointment process that there needs to be at least one public hearing as part of it. And the final piece is that we want to clarify that they can do an appointment or an election. There is no hybrid model like was discussed during the sheriff appointment process, to the point of perhaps an individual could be appointed leading up to a special election wherein they would resign the position to trigger whomever was successful in the election. Problem with that being you cannot compel someone to leave an appointed position. So theoretically, that person could have chosen to stay and there would be nothing to do about it. So top line, 30 days to 60 days, appoint or elect, not a hybrid, and you have to have at least one public hearing during this process.
Kim, could we advance a little bit? Because, yep, we just keep going, please.
Yep.
Proposed language. Here we go. So,
and that obviously county council would need to clean up a bit because we don't speak attorney. But the 60 is in there, the public hearing is in there, but they may need to do some wiggle on the either or, not both.
all right. So we have proposed amended language before us. Now is the time for someone to consider making a motion and a second if this group so chooses.
I'll move to approve the item.
Second.
So we have a motion by Ileana Rodriguez and a second by Julie Lind, and this will go to a roll call vote, please.
Tom Adams,
Yes.
Vo Amibe,
Yes.
Lillian Perez Avila,
Yes.
Karen Chapman,
Yes.
Eddie Flores,
Yes.
Jacqueline Faust,
Yes.
Roseanne Faust,
Yes.
Lynette Garcia is absent, Mark Hayslip,
No.
Nathan Healy,
Yes.
Dana Johnson,
Yes.
Daniela Jondatu,
Yes.
Julie Lind,
Yes.
Monica Miha,
Yes.
Ileana Rodriguez,
Yes.
Kathleen Wheeler,
Yes.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Kim, and thank you to the committee. I'll be thanking all the committees at the end, but I really appreciate it. So we are moving on to item B, and this is adoption and review of board governance policies and practices, and I will turn it over to Eddie Flores, and His committee members are Daniela, Lynette, Vu, and Mark.
Thank you,
And
Madam Chair.
Eddie-
If I could have the slide come up, please. Great. The full slide, please. Thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. As it was shared in our last meeting, this is pretty straightforward. It is the adoption of a governance handbook outlining the various components, including rules of operation, code of conduct, ethical policies. This is not creating or siloing or giving additional power to any particular member of the Board of Supervisors. This has also been already moved forward with heavy lifting already through President Supervisor Corso's office and staff. Why does this make sense? Not only because every single other governance, high-functioning governing elected board or council already has a guidebook or a handbook, but it also ensures transparency and public trust where individuals, constituents, and residents can also look up what is happening. It also ensures continuity and equity. And also, we are recommending that at least minimum every 2 years, it is reviewed. Why 2 years? Because every 2 years there are elections and there could be shifts within the composition of the Board of Supervisors. Like I said, its foundation already exists. President Corso's office already has a powerful draft. And this amendment gives that work a permanent charter level protection for years to come. I welcome any questions.
Does the committee have any questions of the chair, Eddie, or any committee members on this? I am not seeing any questions, any public comment. I should have taken public comment on the last item, but we did not have it. We do not have it on this. So for the record, I will ask the committee to consider a motion and a second if you so choose.
I move.
Thank you, Daniela.
I'll second.
Sir,
Um,
go for it. Okay. I'll take the second.
Yeah.
then. I'll take.
Dana will take it. Thank you. We will need a roll call.
All right, Tom Adams. Bo Amuve,
Yes.
Lillian Perez Avila,
Yes.
Karen Chapman,
Yes.
Eddie Flores,
Yes.
Jacqueline Faust,
Yes.
Roseanne Faust,
Yes.
Lynette Garcia is absent, Mark Hayslop,
Yes.
Nathan Healy,
Yes.
Dana Johnson,
Yes.
Daniela Jondatoo,
Yes.
Julie Lind, Monica Mija, Ileana Rodriguez,
Yes.
Kathleen Wheeler,
Yes.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. So we are, and thank you to the committee. Moving on to 4C, which is the creation of independent redistricting commission, and I will turn it over to the chair, Kathy Wheeler, and her members, Mark, Nathan, and Kimberly. And we will go to the slide that talks about the recommendation.
I did want to show one slide
Sure.
before that because we had a request when we did our presentation as to what the other 9 Bay Area counties do. So the next slide, please. So this is a summary of what the Bay Area counties do. Most of them have county supervisors. San Francisco is unique given that it's a county city with 11. And it's about half split between advisory and board of supervisors, with the exception of San Francisco being independent. So hopefully that, I think, Tom, you would ask for that information. So do you have any questions about this?
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anyone else? No? Next slide. Okay, so the amendment that we're proposing would be inserted, we assume, in Article 2, Section 202, declaring an independent redistricting commission. After each federal decennial census, the supervisory districts of the county shall be reapportioned in the manner specified by the general law, and by general law, by an independent redistricting commission established pursuant to the California Elections Code 23003.
So do we have any questions of Kathy or members of the committee on this? I am not seeing any. Is there any public comment? Not seeing any hands raised or anyone in the room. So again, if the committee so chooses, Tom?
I'd just like to make a comment if I could.
Yes.
I think this is a good proposal and that we should support it. I see from looking at the chart that's been provided that San Mateo County will be in a leadership position in the counties in moving to having an independent commission draw these lines. And I think that it's a good step to take, and I hope that it'll be adopted here, and I hope that San Mateo will be a leader in the Bay Area for changes to reflect this. I think it's a good government practice and it supports democracy. It's a good thing to do, and we should support it.
Thank you for your comment, Tom. So seeing no other comments or questions, I am looking for the committee to consider making a motion. Thank you, Mark.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tom. So it will now go to a roll call vote.
Right. Tom Adams,
Yes.
Bo Amive,
Yes.
Lillian Perez Avila,
Yes.
Karen Chapman,
Yes.
Eddie Flores,
Yes.
Jacqueline Faust,
Yes.
Roseanne Faust,
Yes.
Lynette Garcia is absent, Mark Hayesloop,
Yes.
Nathan Healy,
Yes.
Dana Johnson,
Yes.
Daniela Jondatoo,
Yes.
Julie Lind,
No.
Monica Mija,
Yes.
Ileana Rodriguez,
Yes.
Kathleen Wheeler,
Yes.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you again to the committee. Thank you for following up with research and answering folks' questions. We are moving on. So now with items D, E, F, and G. This is where we will have presentations, then followed by a vote, because we have not had a preview on any of these agenda items at previous meetings. So the next one is the report or policy statement regarding county resilience to events of extreme weather. And I am going to turn it over to Tom and Karen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So we very much appreciate the committees giving us an opportunity to present these recommendations. We only had just a little over a week to pull this together, and it was a lot of work. But our memo is in the file. I'm hoping you had a chance to read it. But I would like to put up 3 slides just to kind of summarize the situation for us. So the first slide, it just shows the materials that we considered and the people that we talked to. As you can see, there have been a number of reports on these subjects, and reviewing them was a huge amount of work. But it was also very educational to us. A lot is going on, and there is a lot that needs to be done. We've also conducted a number of interviews and with people who are in leadership positions or who had some special expertise. I think the next slide is going to show you a lot of what we learned. This has 2 slides. The first is from San Mateo County Parks 2025 Wildfire Mitigation Program, and the one on the right is on the website of One Shoreline, and it is from 2018, and it shows the areas that are exposed to flooding. Let me talk first about the one on the left. You can see that in the unincorporated area to the west of, mostly to the west of Highway 280, not entirely, the CAL FIRE has recently designated that area as a very high fire risk. Almost all the rest of the unincorporated area is designated as a high fire risk. And these lines, you can't really see from the map at this scale, but these lines move into incorporated cities. As far as I can tell from looking at the map, these lines include Pacifica, Millbrae, Burlingame, Hillsborough, Belmont, San Mateo, San Carlos, Redwood City, Menlo Park, Woodside, and Portola Valley. Half Moon Bay is also included, and there are unincorporated communities that are also affected by these very significant fire risk designations, or fire hazard, I should say, designations. The County Parks Department has come out with a wildlife mitigation program, and the borders of the county parks are shown in green. The County Parks Department, in my view, in our view, Karen and me, has done a really good job of demonstrating that it is possible to have resilience measures in open space areas that are affected. The county recommendations need to be funded and implemented, but there is a very good series of implementations there. For the rest of this huge open space area, nobody has done a plan for any kind of climate resilience about how we can protect our communities from fire. In the Los Angeles fires that occurred in 2025, those fires were, even though they were huge, they caused enormous damage. They set records for the damage that they did. They were exclusively in what is called a wildlife urban interface. This area is all a wildlife urban interface. It is the greatest area for fire risk in San Mateo County or anywhere. And the vegetation in this area is significantly different from the vegetation in Los Angeles, which is a different type of vegetation and gets much drier. However, we all know that our communities are getting hotter and drier. And if there was to be a fire in a time of high wind, the fire embers in the Los Angeles fire were blowing ahead of firefighters, and the embers were setting fires 1 and 2 miles ahead of the flames. That could happen here, and those embers could go into established communities. It's not, I don't think, going to happen anytime soon because of the differences in vegetation. There is time to address these risks, but they need to be addressed. The other slide is of the flooding areas. And this was developed by another county study in 2018, and it's been embraced by One Shoreline, and it's up on their website. And it's an overlay of storm flooding and sea level rise and high tides. And as you can see, a huge portion of the eastern side of the county, many communities are affected by this. This map was prepared in 2018, as I said. At the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023, you probably all remember this, we experienced 9 atmospheric river storms in a row. It produced enormous flooding. It was the greatest rainfall in the Bay Area in 161 years. Highway 101 was flooded in South San Francisco. You know, our expectation can't be that this is going to be the worst storm that we'll face. Storms are going to be more intense. They're going to last longer. There's going to be higher winds and more rainfall. One Shoreline is a very important step for the county because there's splintered decision-making among the many communities that are affected by this. One Shoreline solves a governance problem that needs to be solved in the area subject to fire risk, but is not yet been solved. One Shoreline has proposed many excellent programs to provide resilience along the bayside. They need to be funded. One Shoreline remains a very small organization. It needs funding and it needs more staffing. One of the things that I wanted to show by putting these two slides up together is that there are the counties, the incorporated cities that run down the backbone of the county, but they are at risk on both sides. They are at risk from fire risk to the west and flooding and sea level rise to the east. It's a complicated, dangerous situation. So we came to some conclusions as a result of our efforts at looking at this, and I'd like to show them on the next slide. So I'll just read these quickly. They're fairly simple. The county wildlife urban interface areas have elevated fire risk, including San Francisco watershed lands, unincorporated lands, and numerous cities. County Parks has identified open space resilience measures for the parks, but they don't apply in the vast balance of the wildlife urban interface. There are reports that have been done from the Los Angeles fires, very good insurance reports, which are referenced in our memo, demonstrating that resilience measures for hardening structures, houses, and creating defensible space are known. But those programs need to be adopted and implemented, and basically none of them are happening in any comprehensive way here in San Mateo County. For fire, there is no governance body comparable to One Shoreline, despite the fact that this is a widespread multi-jurisdictional risk. And report after report that has been done since 2012, I think, from the county grand jury, from other organizations, experts have found that San Mateo County has the greatest risk of flooding in the entire state of California. There were the back-to-back rivers that I referred to, and numerous studies have shown that flooding risks disproportionately impact vulnerable communities. One Shoreline is off to a good start, but it needs staffing, it needs money for programs. These issues were considered by two separate civil grand juries in San Mateo County who made significant recommendations, but those recommendations have come to no avail. Extreme weather is the single greatest public safety risk that we face here in San Mateo County. It's not like we're not in a county that's trying to put blinders on or ignore the problems. In many ways, if you look at the reports and the work that the county staff is doing and the cities are doing, we are a leader. But the problem that's in front of us is huge and needs to be faced with greater urgency than is currently exhibits. These issues impact housing, businesses, including big technology sites, 5 wastewater facilities, 3 airports, other transportation systems like the freeway, schools, medical facilities are all at risk from one side or the other. So we are proposing that you approve both of the measures that we discussed last. And they're at the very end of our memo. Kim, I don't know if you can scroll to the last page of our memo, but the recommendations that we are making are there. One of them is to state that providing resilience against the events of extreme weather is a priority for the county. And 2 is to provide a scorecard. The decisions that people will have to make, public officials will have to make in order to address this issue are hard. The money's not necessarily there. They're going to be controversial because they affect people's private property. And yet there is urgency to finding ways to solve these problems before there are tragic consequences. So we're asking that both of these recommendations that we discussed at our last meeting be approved. We have had had some important conversations along the way to develop this report. And the voices of the people that we talk to, I think, are valuable to hear. And Karen wants to go over, some of the voices that are in support of the project that we have.
Thank you,
Karen?
Tom. Yes. I think you all received at the end of or late afternoon several letters, including one from Senator Hill, and then also one from Lynn Matterman, One Shoreline. Hopefully you had a chance to look at that. I also just wanted to share an email I received from our assessor, Mark Church, and I'm going to be very brief here. He says, I support incorporating language into the preamble that establishes long-term resiliency against extreme weather events as a core policy goal, as well as adding a provision requiring an annual report to the Board of Supervisors. A structured, reoccurring report addressing climate change impacts, emergency preparedness, the effectiveness of resiliency measures, and coordination among county departments, cities, joint powers agencies will help ensure accountability, transparency, and sustained progress. Thank you. I think that covers what we wanted. Are we within our 10 minutes?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for noting that also. It's very helpful if the different committees, and we had our other committees, presentations no longer than 10 minutes. So for what we're going to be discussing, because then it allows us to have Q&A time and to be able to vote. So I am going to open the floor up to questions for Tom and Karen on what has been presented. And I am going to take each of the sections proposed separately because that's what I did previously when the group voted to have them study these two issues. So we bifurcated the two suggested parts of the charter change. Sorry, my brain's just taking a minute to kick in. So, any questions? We're going to leave this up right now. Kathy?
Roseanne, I don't have a question. I think it's an important issue that we're struggling with, the world's struggling with. But just stepping back, what our charge is, the county charter is meant to serve as a high-level governing document and not an operational manual. The charter outlines basically structures, powers, and principles of governance. I can agree to the language, support the language inclusion, but not mandating a report that it's an operational matter that's better handled through ordinance or resolution. And quite frankly, that's why we have the Emergency Management Council, which has the JPAs, the cities, and the county. I think bottom line, a county charter defines what the government is and how it works, not specific tasks that it must undertake.
Thank you, Ileana. So I'm actually gonna, because it's, since I can't see the folks on the screen and keep the language up, does anyone else on the screen have a question or comment? Then I'll move to the folks in the room. I'm not seeing any hands up of those online. So I'm going to turn it to Kathy, and then I saw Karen's hand up. Unless Karen wants to make a comment to what Ileana said.
Well, I was just going to say it's fairly short. She has a view of this, which we respect. I just would say that we did consult with the county council on the legality of both of these items appearing in the charter, and he has told us that there is no legal barrier to them. That being said, of course, if people disagree with it, they have the right to do so, but it is important, I think, to understand that though the charter is correctly a governing document, these recommendations fit within that definition.
And I'm going to just turn to Brian because I'm want to be clear about Brian, you provided that information. Or did you provide that? It's not that I'm questioning you, Tom. It's just this is for public record. So
It's good to be careful. Very
Yes.
good to be careful.
I'm married to an attorney, so here we go. Live my life around.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. Yes, just going back to my initial presentation to the committee about what the charter does and what historically is included in county charters. I have provided guidance when subcommittees have reached out to me, including the subcommittee, about whether there would be, in my opinion, legal barriers to including language in the charter, and I can point those out as they. I mean, I have pointed those out as they come up, and I identified some examples in my initial presentation. And I just want to clarify that that question is simply, if challenged, would that language survive a challenge? Could it be included in the charter, consistent with legal requirements? And so, yes, I do think that both of these could be included in the charter, which is not the question of are either historically included in either the Santa Barbara County Charter or other county charters. But I did advise that that certainly both of these would likely withstand any legal challenge.
Okay, so let's go Julie, Karen, because I think they're on the same issue, and then Kathy, unless you want to respond to something that's separate than this conversation.
No, I am in support of this conversation.
Okay, right.
So should I go ahead and elaborate?
You've been waiting, so you go, and then Julie, and then Karen.
Okay.
Everybody hold their thoughts.
Okay, so I am going to second what Ileana said. I'm in complete agreement with what she has said. In my mind, okay, I mean, I have fears about climate change. I have fears about things going on in this county. But as far as finding solutions to actually do something about it, I don't think is appropriate in the county charter. Okay, it is a higher level document, okay, that should provide guidance to our governing structure. And frankly speaking, as Ileana said, it can be done by ordinance. Okay, and even the second amendment, an annual report, there's nothing that says who's writing that annual report. Where does it come from? Okay, so to me, there's some structural issues here that still need to be addressed. Okay, and we've got a variety of organizations in the county that tried to address it. And that's where it should be accomplished, not in the charter. So that's my comment for this particular change, and I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you, Kathy. Julie, and then Karen.
I largely echo those comments as well as Ileana's, and wanted to make the point that legality of inclusion in the charter does not equate to appropriateness for inclusion in the charter. So I wanted to make that point as well relative to the continuance of the discussion.
Karen?
Yes, and I just wanted to echo the many department heads that we spoke to who said that the urgency of now is upon us, and there is not the county is not incorporating all of this information. You know, each department is doing separate work on it. And so we did confirm through a department head that this reporting is not being done. And I think to your point, Kathy, we we left it vague and up to the Board of Supervisors to determine which department and departments would be in charge of this. But we thought that this is essentially an issue that does deserve to be in the preamble because of everything that Tom presented. And it's about our future too. It's about, we spoke to Kitty Lopez who represents 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. And, they've already started doing their own climate work on where children should be for daycare. I don't know where that is in the piece of all of this, but it just seemed like to elevate it to this level was worth consideration. So thank you for the time.
Mark, do you have a comment?
I'd just like to point out the question is whether or not a report like this should be mandatory or whether it should be permissive. And my understanding was that we were asking to amend 206B, which is permissive on behalf of the board, not 206A are mandatory duties of the board. So if this was put in B, then the board could order it and order it in whatever form they deemed appropriate. And granted, is a little more specific than other items mentioned in B, but it would be permissive. It's not like we're sticking the board with an obligation that they have to perform.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? I'm not seeing anything.
I think that I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
Lillian,
probably
please.
For,
Sorry.
For Brian. And I'm looking through the website of the San Mateo County, and it seems that we have like a Department of Emergency Management. And I see the letter in the mission is to advance community resilience through a proactive, comprehensive approach to emergency management, involving the whole community in every phase of disaster, mitigation, response, and recovery. So I think I'm not sure if this is the department that will cover any type of emergency, and like the department exists itself. So just that question.
So I can give a brief response, and hopefully staff from the CEO's office will provide more information. That department is responsible generally for the county's planning and response to emergencies, including extreme weather. I can't personally speak with much eloquence as to like specifically the programs and how that gets operationalized. But certainly that department is responsible generally for responding to extreme weather events.
And the only thing I would add is that we also have the Department Office of Sustainability or Sustainability Department. I think they changed their name. That also has those types of initiatives. And also, if you think about our Public Works Department, they're also responding. And you mentioned parks, so several departments.
And planning and building, and I mean that's the point though. Like all these different departments have all these different. They're all working on it, and they all have different jurisdictions. But this is one of the things they have in common.
If I could add.
Sure. Ileana, go ahead.
The Department of Emergency Management does emergency management for unincorporated areas. The cities are responsible for emergency management in their jurisdictions, unless it's too big and they request assistance then of the Department of Emergency Management. That's why we have the Emergency Management Council, where you have priority set reports and these dialogues with the other jurisdictions and JPAs. You also have San Francisco County, who's the largest city and county owner of real estate in this county. They own that central region for the water resources we've got. So
Eddie
it's not just something the county can do.
Thank you, Ileana. And Eddie Flores has his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to ground the aspect of it, because it seemed to me like, and with all due respect, that the presentation was geared toward is climate change real? Is climate change a priority? Is resiliency? I don't think that any of us in this room, or maybe I shouldn't speak for everyone, doubt that this is a critical, outstanding priority issue for our local area, for our state, and national. And in every aspect, not just resilience, but also sea level rise, climate adaptation, air quality pollution, and all of that. I don't think we're asking ourselves, is this not important? It's not a values issue here. I think we're all in the same ground. I think what we're grounding is the efficacy of the charter and should this be placed on the charter. I wanted to ask those in this review subcommittee, did you all speak with the Emergency Services Council, paid staff, or the electeds that serve on it, and or any cities, and or the Sustainability Department from San Mateo County, which I think are pivotal, very critical in stakeholder groups that are already doing a lot of this work. The difference that I look at in terms of a report or a handbook, if you will, that my subcommittee studied and is recommending is that that's already owned by an office, which is Supervisor Corso's office. This presents itself as whoever wants to pick it up could, and even leaving that vagueness constitutes and presents a lot of, well, no, you take on the work. No, you take on the work. And again, I think it would have behooved individuals to have consulted the Emergency Services Council, the director as well, that she's very approachable and easy to get a hold of in order to align. That would have made me feel like, okay, everyone's talking. And it's not just an outside county agencies, community nonprofits. Again, it's not a question, is this important or not? Absolutely, 1,000,000%. This is critical, not only for this generation, but future generations. But what we're being asked is, where is this language and how is this report going to get produced and ensure that it gets updated as well?
So I know in the report, they did meet with the Director of Sustainability Department. The Emergency Management Director is Shruti Dapakar, correct? So were you able to?
I'll just remind everyone, we had a week to put this together, and you have a list of all the people that we were able to speak with for up to an hour. I think that was someone that was on our list, but we didn't connect with them. We had people like Senator Jerry Hill, who was a county supervisor and a state senator. We had, Mark Church respond. We had Dave Pine weighed in. I believe he was a city council member and a county supervisor. So, that we did within a week, we were able to speak to a lot of them, people, experts, both in and out. And, they all agreed that there isn't one place that's capturing what everyone is doing on this. And so the idea of a report card, of a progress report card to say at the end of the year or at the end of 2 years, this is what the Parks Department did. This is what this department did. And so it wouldn't be on one department. And, I'm not on the Board of Supervisors, but if I was, that would be something I would have everyone coordinate. And putting it in the charter elevates the urgency of now on this issue. It's very hard to accept that this is a slow rolling disaster that we are dealing with. And the county, I read some of the other quotes. The county is in a position to take a leadership role on this. No other county has done this yet, and we just think it's worth suggesting to the Board of Supervisors for their consideration. I'll stop talking.
And I really would like to now move this item along. And I want to say something. And I appreciate that the amount of work that you had from the April 2nd to April 14th. Now, that was due to unforeseen health circumstances. For the record, this item had been voted down to be studied by the committee. I, as your chair, took the prerogative because we had a second bite at the apple for another item. that was brought forth by a member of the Board of Supervisors. And I felt it deserved a second look. So we had scheduled this for the beginning of March, and then it was delayed subsequently 2 and/or 3 meetings out. So April 2nd was when this committee voted to allow it to be studied. So we created a 6th committee, and it has a very tight focus. 2 things are being asked tonight: preamble language to be modified, as well as amending the charter for a report to be directed by the Board of Supervisors. So those are the 2 things. We can have about 2 more minutes of comments, and then we're going to move to a vote. Dana?
So all I wanted to bring, thank you for everyone that spoke on this, but regardless kind of what we vote here as the committee, the Board of Supervisors are going to see. So I kind of think we're going a little bit in circles about this one thing, that regardless of what the vote will be, the Board of Supervisors will revisit it most likely anyway to determine what they feel is best. I also feel like it sounds like there's already conversation going on about this in another space, in these emergency, I guess, meetings. If I'm not, is that true?
So there's the Emergency Services Council, which is made up of the county and the 20 cities. Then there's a Department of Emergency Management. So the subcommittee, though, to their credit, wanted to elevate this to the charter because climate, I would agree with Ileana and Julie and everyone else who said climate is a real issue. Climate,
Yes.
flooding, all of that is a serious consideration. And so that's why we're discussing it for either charter language to elevate it and or a report or both and both. You all understand where I'm going.
Yeah.
So, but this is a vote tonight to decide what this committee as a charter wants to suggest to the board to move forward for charter amendments. They can accept our recommendations on May 5th or not, or they can accept some of them and others no, and then they can add their own. They can change the charter whenever they want. I mean, that's their prerogative.
Thank you. And I think I think the whole circle at this table believe climate is a very important thing. So, yeah.
I see a lot of nodding of heads at that. So why don't we go to the recommendations, and let's start with add language to the county charter preamble, designating long-term resilience against extreme weather events, including fire, flood, wind, rain, heat, drought, and sea level rise, as a county priority to be undertaken collaboratively with cities, districts, and other public entities. That's preamble language. So now the group needs to possibly consider a motion in a second that we can vote on.
Move the language.
Okay. So I have a motion by Tom and a second by Monica. So this will be a roll call vote.
Tom Adams?
Oh, one moment. Public comment. Seeing any public comment? Seeing none? Okay. Thanks, Kim.
All right, Tom Adams?
Yes.
Will Amuve?
Yes.
Lillian Perez-Avila?
No.
Karen Chapman?
Yes.
Eddie Flores?
Yes.
Jacqueline Faust?
Yes.
Roseanne Faust?
Yes.
Lynette Garcia is absent. Mark Haslew?
Yes.
Nathan Healy?
Yes.
Dana Johnson?
Yes.
Daniela Jondatube?
Yes.
Julie Lind?
Yes.
Monica Mija? Ileana Rodriguez?
Yes.
Kathleen Wheeler?
No.
Kimberly Wu?
Yes.
Right. Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are taking the second, amend the charter provision 206, and I'm going to 206B, which is the may. Is that? Or let's leave it at 206. Let's just, because that's what amend the charter Section 206 as an annual report to the Board of Supervisors shall be prepared on climate change impacts, emergency preparedness, the adequacy and effectiveness of resiliency policies and actions, and the state of coordination on these matters among county departments, cities, and public districts. So ask the group to consider a motion and a second.
Move the language.
Second.
Okay, so that's a motion by Tom, a second by Jackie. So this will be a, first of all, is there any other additional discussion on this? Seeing none, moving.
All right, Tom Adams,
Yes.
Bo Amive,
Yes.
Lillian Perez Avila,
No.
Karen Chapman,
Yes.
Eddie Flores,
No.
Jacqueline Faust,
Yes.
Roseanne Faust,
No.
Lynette Garcia is absent, Mark Hayslip,
No.
Nathan Healy,
Yes.
Dana Johnson,
Yes.
Daniela Jondatu,
Yes.
Julie Lind,
No.
Monica Mija,
Yes.
Ileana Rodriguez,
No.
Kathleen Wheeler,
No.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
Motion passes with 9.
All right, both of those items will be moved on to the Board of Supervisors. I want to thank the committee for the work done. I want to thank the group for this robust discussion. And we are moving on to,
Madam Chair, could I?
yes.
I know this has really been difficult process and people have different opinions, but it has been great to work with everybody here. And I really appreciate the chance to have been involved with all of you on these issues. And Madam Chair, I appreciate the way you've navigated this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I owe you all a drink after this. So 2 drinks. We got 3 more to go, folks. Okay. Well, no, it's been an honor to be a part of this process. So I'm going to say that at this moment in time, and I will continue thanking everyone. This is a time commitment. You all are busy people, so we appreciate it. And I really thank our 3 folks right here. Thank you. So we are going to move on to 4E, which is require row officer review prior to consolidation of county offices. And let me be clear, E and F are under the same subcommittee, which is led by Jacqueline Faust, and Tom Adams is a part of it. And we broke this up at the recommendation of our county attorney. Thank you, Brian. So we have a presentation.
Okay, we'll keep this very short and sweet. And I will just note that after some comments from the county today, we did remove item 2. So we're just discussing item 1 and 3. Excuse me, I'm still trying to get my voice back. So item 1 is row officer consolidation of professional qualifications. So the observation is the charter currently lacks a mandated process such as professional qualifications audit to confirm technical expertise when 2 or more elective row officer roles are considered for consolidation. So that's section 401. And then there's item 3, which is item 2, charter mandate for language, access, and equity. So the observation was that the charter is currently silent on linguistic rights, which affects 45.3% of the county households that speak a language other than English. We can jump to the next slide. So this is just kind of our internal process. So there was an internal review of some of the county charter as itself, some initial recommendations that were made earlier in these sessions at the beginning of this process, and then a comparative analysis of some of the other counties in the area. So there's 3 linked out there. And then I'm a big fan of AI. So it's just an AI analysis in there. It always tells you things that you're not necessarily seeing. And the output of that was shown in suggested language, but that was actually stricken from the recommendations. We can go to the next slide. So the arguments for the proposed amendments provide essential clarity, just clarifying what we are already is in there, and the governance language. The arguments against is obviously this is a slight burden on administrative, but it should not be a heavy amount. It's just making edits. The recommendations would come down to item 1 recommendation would be mandated professional qualifications audit prior to the consolidation of any 2 currently unrelated elected offices, for example, treasurer and tax collector. This is necessary to ensure technical expertise and functional specialization are maintained and not compromised by its administrative restructuring. So that's would be, the implementation would be into section 401. I'm going to skip over item 2, and then item 3 recommendation would be mandate linguistic rights in the charter by requiring all essential public notices and charter mandated public hearings to be provided in the county's threshold languages, which would be Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog. This would require the creation of a new dedicated subsection in the charter, and that would be at their discretion. And that's really all it is. Questions or comments?
So do we have any questions from those online?
Just for
would,
clarification. Oh, go ahead.
Kimberly and then Ileana.
I wanted to clarify for the county's threshold languages, are you thinking for the recommendation to explicitly name Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog? I think the reason why I'm asking that question is to see if, like, for example, the threshold languages change or like throughout the years based on the demographic and changing population. Also, separately, I also think there are more languages that should be included, and I think having an exhaustive list within the charter is not necessarily the best way to go, but rather to say to be provided in the county's represented language.
I don't disagree with necessarily setting a threshold of, I could do a quick Google of like what that threshold amount would be currently. I have no issues with that.
And I believe my comment was that there is a threshold language requirement of 5% for the services that any essential public notices or applications, if there's 5% representation of that language in the county, then it becomes a threshold language and documents are provided in that language. So what would this do?
You mean what would
Is it every language that's being represented? Because we currently have legislation that mandates 5% is the threshold language. State and federal.
That's through ordinance or resolution?
State and federal.
State and federal. Okay.
Regulation.
That certainly supersedes this. Kathy?
So I had a similar question. So did the committee do any research as to county ordinance as covering the language issue?
I'm sorry. So like research on how much the county does when they are supporting it?
Yeah, is it actually baked into the ordinance already? Okay, and why? Why does it need to be mandated in the charter?
So I think this was just a recommendation that we could do to be more inclusive of it. But I do, and I think that's why the 3 languages were, that was why the 3 languages were selected, because they passed that threshold. But if it is duplicative, then we can obviously shoot it down as well.
I'm not sure, and maybe the CEO's office can assist, but I think these 3 languages were passed just late last year as thresholds by the board.
Thank you, Ileana.
Yes.
Chair. It does appear that there was a resolution that did go to the board. So resolution acknowledging the importance of language access and directing the creation of language access ordinance and implementation plan. We check the date on that. 2023. And in addition to that, I know that the county does have a policy that's available. And also we do have dashboards that have it's called the language access dashboards that have information. And that's a collaboration with our community affairs, health, HSA, and the medical center that report out on this.
So what I'm going to ask with the committee, since this already exists, perhaps it doesn't need to be in the charter.
Yeah.
Would the committee, Lillian?
Yeah, no, I just want to echo, I used to be part of the community affairs office as a community outreach coordinator. I was doing all the translations to Spanish. So yeah, the office gets all the requirements. If we need to translate any public notice, we'll do it through our vendor. The same for like on corporate areas like Norfolk Oaks that we do it for Spanish. It's already there. Just what that we used to. I'm not part of the office anymore, but I've seen it.
So,
No, I can agree with what you were saying to not push that forward then.
so we're going to take item 2 and 3 off because the committee is removing it. So we're going to go back to 1, which is a professional qualifications audit prior to the consolidation of any 2 currently unrelated elective offices, e.g., let me just get treasurer and tax collector. So what is the thought on that? This is where the committee can weigh in. Mark?
Yeah, thanks. My concern with this is who's going to set these qualifications? And the parties or people who set these qualifications can certainly set them in a discriminatory way that would alleviate people with maybe different but good credentials. And that, I think, is what the problem is. The other thing is, what do we actually mean by an audit? If they're going to set criteria for who can actually run for an elected position, I don't know if that's something I can get behind.
I think the idea would be the board, it would be up to the board's discretion to provide that audit or the qualifications would not necessarily be for the elected person. It would be combining the roles.
Well, who sets the criteria? For example, like in a financial position, do you need a CPA? Would a former CFO of a corporation who's not a CPA qualify? Those sorts of things. And when you start to set criteria, you start to eliminate people. And I don't believe that any elected official should be eliminated. Their lack of credentials or their lack of experience would certainly be a campaign issue of an elected official. And I think that should be left to the electorate.
Thank you, Mark. Julie, and then Kathy.
On the question of who decides the requirements, I can only speak to assessor, clerk, recorder, blah, 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 and superintendent of schools. There are state laws that require certification for assessor, and there's also state law that requires a particular certification for superintendent of schools. And as it pertains to making multiple offices one, our treasurer is already the treasurer tax collector. So what were you anticipating? The only thing that's left is maybe trying to add controller to treasurer. So if you could help me understand the potential problem for which you're trying to solve, that would be helpful.
Well, if we have these state laws already, what do we need this for?
So Kathy and then Jackie and Tom could maybe address.
So I think Julie asked my question. Okay, I was looking for an example of where the county has combined elected offices. It would seem to me that if it's an elected office, that just the county combining those roles would have to go under vote by the voters to agree to it. In which case, okay, there would be new qualifications described already for that combined role. So it's not clear to me that this is kind of an ad hoc thing necessarily, but if you have an example that I'm not aware of, that'd be great.
No, I don't think I have a specific example that you're not aware of. And I think that you all have some very good points. So I am also totally okay to not move this forward as well.
So I'm going to go with the committee chair in this moment. And if Jackie, you're based on this discussion and if you seem perfectly content with, all right, we are not going to move any of this forward. And that means we have now covered E and F, because the language accessibility we discussed, that's already embedded. So now we are going to go to a presentation, and this is for G, creation of a Human Rights and Equity Commission. So I am going to turn it over to Monica, who is the committee chair, and Dana, Kimberly, and Jacqueline are members.
Great, thank you. I think we're going to start, with Kimberly. She has the first few sections.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Sorry I could not be there in person. If we just wanted to, I think each of us on the group can introduce ourselves before we present. But hi, I'm Kimberly Wu, and I use the she, her pronouns, and I serve on the subcommittee. Next slide, please. So we have 3 different proposals that we're going to go through a lot. We're gonna walk you through all 3. The first part is to establish equity and human rights as a foundational county values. We'll explain a bit more on that. Second is to embed equity considerations into policymaking. And the third, which is, in my opinion, the most exciting one, which is create a Human Rights and Equity Commission as an independent oversight body. The purpose of this is to ensure that we have fair, accessible, and equitable governance that is truly structurally embedded in county systems. And in order to get it structurally embedded, it's actually codified within the charter. Next slide, please. So just breaking down the first one, you all should have received the proposals, so the actual language in writing before this meeting. We didn't want to add it to the slide because it's fairly long, but basically it just affirms the commitment to dignity, civil rights, and equal participation of all residents for this First Amendment. This would be found in the charter preamble. What we noticed throughout the charter document is that there was little to no mention about actual civil rights, human rights, diversity. So that's why we wanted to actually codify those values within our charter and uplifting them. It's very important to make this foundational, provide it as a guiding framework for all of our county actions right at the top. Next slide, please. So the Second Amendment is to embed equity considerations into policymaking. So this would be in Article 2 for Board of Supervisors as new sections under 206B 8 through 9. These are this section is basically powers and duties that the Board of Supervisors can have. So because this is Section 206B, it's that the board may promote equitable access, equal opportunity, and inclusion in programs, services, and policymaking. So it gives the board the duty and ability to promote and really ensure that our foundational values from the First Amendment is truly actually implemented into policy, is what we're saying. Again, the actual language is within the proposal itself. It was fairly long on that end, so we wanted to keep the slides fairly concise to be more sure. And again, the reason why we want to do this is to embed equity into truly decision-making duties. So beyond just the values of our county within the charter, from the preamble, from the First Amendment, the second part is to really ensure accountability at the highest level of county governance, so the people who we elect. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to introduce Amendment 3, which is establish a Human Rights and Equity Commission codified within our charter. Next slide, please. So basically, where it will be is Article 4 in Department Heads, Boards, and Commissions as a new section under 414.5. So currently, Section 414 is about boards and commissions, so we're just adding a section underneath that. And it would create an independent oversight commission to ensure fair, equitable, accessible treatment in county policies, practices, and services. It would also promote accountability through public forums and recommendations to the board. The key part of this commission is that it is codified within the charter to ensure independence and permanence that multiple and permanence to ensure that our county truly uplifts our values of human rights and diversity, not only within our charter, within our policymakers for the Board of Supervisors, and lastly, for this Amendment 3 for the Human Rights and Equity Commission to ensure that we have a resident-led body. So that's an introduction. We'll explain a bit more about our research and the why on this section. So with that, I will pass it off to Dana.
Thank you, Kimberly. Dana Johnson, they and he pronouns. I just wanted to share, Madam Chair, it was Kimberly, Monica, and me for this actual.
I'm sorry. So I messed up. for
So
somebody.
no, it's okay. It was probably just a typo. Jacqueline was going to be in the committee, but probably was very busy. So
So it
yeah,
was Monica.
it was
Dana,
Monica,
and
Dana,
Kimberly.
and Kimberly. Correct.
Thank you.
No problem. And so just continuing with that, little bit of the research part. And again, as Kimberly shared, we actually have like a 2-3 page typed out type of breakdown for this. So we're just summarizing some of the things from that broken down type of a message that we shared.
Sorry,
But-
Dana, just in case you're looking at it in the packet, it's page 66, 67, and 68.
Thank you. So moving on with our slide deck. Next slide, please. Thank you. Research-wise, we did talk to President Noelia Corzo, as this was something that her and her office brought as a proposal for the committee when we first kind of gathered together. Basically, when we discussed with President Corzo, she is proposing and strongly supporting the codification of a Human Rights Commission. The main focus of what she would like is that it ensures permanency, stability, and continued commitment to serving all members of our community, and not just now, for generations to come, which is one of the reasons of the codification for it. There's also a little bit of an importance for her of making sure that there's protection and advancement of human rights of its core functions of our local government and not subject to shift. The priorities are its groundings and enduring principles. And I think that's as we move on through the years. Next slide, please. We also reached out to Chief Equity Officer Shireen Malika Fazli Tadi, I think I did that correctly, who oversees a lot of the equity work within the county, definitely working with a lot of the county departments, but then also working with CBOs and nonprofits. I do want to share that Shireen is an employee, and so she supports if the Board of Supervisors chooses to move this on, and however the committee chooses, but that's just a support lens. She's not giving any basically of what she feels on this proposal because she is an employee.
So just to clarify, Dana, so if the Board of Supervisors was to move this forward, Shireen would support it as the employee and the Chief Equity Officer. I
Correct.
don't want to put words in her mouth, but that's how I'm understanding it.
Correct. And her office is thumbs up to it if that's what's chosen. She's not making sure that there's any direction based on her report that she shared with us. And there's no decision making that she wants in that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So potentially collaboration with the Equity Office is what this Human Rights Commission is. So if you're looking at it, each commission for the most part kind of have a liaison, and there's kind of like a go-to individual or group that you can meet with that may be about your same affairs. So in this purpose, the Human Rights Commission would hopefully be paired liaison with the Chief Equity's office. The Chief Equity Office, as I shared, already works with the county departments to establish minimum standards on equity, but also looking at maybe if there is a commission, how this can operationalize and kind of move forward in a different direction and working closely with the commission. No enforcement arms. She did want to share that. Just keeping that open for all to kind of bring their perspectives. And then in regards of staff and implementation considerations, we do want to share that there's no budget that is looked upon. As we may know, a lot of the commissions don't have budget. So ideally, it would be how would one of either her or her staff be able to be a part of this with no budget kind of created or connected to this. There will be a question of public forums to address human rights issues, but I think that's more of what would be done in the capacity of the meetings if there was to go ahead with having the Human Rights Commission. Next slide, please. So we also did research and we reached out to the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, as they are a longstanding Human Rights Commission, and they are also embodied and have been doing the work for a while. Now, they said that they first started this commission in 1965, and then it was codified in the 1990s. And so we spoke with the chair, Hasib Emran. He did feel that it was a very important for it to be codified. A little bit different with them, as we already said, is city and county. So their powers are defined not so much as advisory. I think we are saying that it should be with our commission advisory, but because of their budget and how their structure is, they're not advisory. Currently, they're facing efforts to weaken it into more of an advisory role. I think because of the current status of what, I don't know if folks been paying attention, but what's going on in the news about their commission, unfortunately. So that's why it may be weakened more into advisory, which in their eyes would strip authority over leadership and decision making, and it would reduce the body to recommendations without any type of enforcement power. Next slide, please. So we shared what the core powers of the Human Rights Commission is in San Francisco and more of where we aligned with in San Mateo, and then the overlapping piece. So in San Mateo, I read that we want to analyze county policies and practices for equity, again, working closely with the Chief Equity Officer and their team, making sure that there is fair treatment. We want to conduct studies and inquiries, request data and info from, again, the same Chief Equity Officer department, and then provide a public forum for community input. That could either be in the meetings or that could be a listen and learn type of a breakdown as well. The middle part is just something that both of us would be aligned with. So overseeing county department equity and accountability. I think for us, not so much that because Shireen's office does that, but possibly working with them and looking at issuing policy recommendations and any type of draft ordinance. Next slide, please.
Great. So this is my section, Monica Mejia, she, her pronouns. So structural design and independence. This is really where we got into the weeds of things, and then we had to take it back and reel it back in. So we want we want this commission to represent our community, our county's community, to be functional independence, and grounded in the community, and community voice and lived experiences. And obviously this commission would be appointed by the Board of Supervisors. And qualifications and terms shall be established by ordinance. But really what it came down to in all of our learnings and all of our research that we did was that we wanted to ensure that this was an independent commission, something that will work alongside the county work that they're already doing with the county of with Cherie and her work. And we wanted to make sure that it was something that we know that there's no budget. So we wanted to make sure that this is something that is feasible for a commission to do. And so when we talk about accountability, we really talk about like being able to um, have these listens and learns, be able to hear from our community. And I know that commissions already kind of hear from the community, but this will be a one-stop shop where folks can come and really bring forth the issues and have a community of their peers look over things that are going on in the county, and then be able to advise and share findings with Cherie and anybody else that would listen. Next slide. So clear safeguards for independence. In the language, again, we will leave it to the lawyers and the Board of Supervisors to wordsmith this language, but really thinking about having a balanced appointment structure. As you see in the powers and duties, all of it says Commission may. It's all things that they can do. And we wanted to give explicit authority over the scope of work. Again, we took this language also from other commissions that are already in the county. So we didn't really just like make this up. So it's language that's already in some of the commissions. So set agendas, initiate reviews, issue reports and recommendations. Again, we know this commission would be 100% voluntary. So. And then the reason why being in the charter is because it establishes permanent and voter protected accountability. This is beyond political cycles, so it's going to maintain and be something that our county continues to look at and enforce as part of our, I guess, culture and also the way that we do things. And again, it's based on board approval to remove it if it's no longer needed. Next slide, please. Advisory committees as built-in feature. It's embedded community advisory structures into our model, public forums, data and presentations to the county representatives, select commissioners from diverse backgrounds, and supporting marginalized communities and enhance transparency and public trust. Again, these are all under powers or commission may. So some of the things that the Board of Supervisors may do. Next slide, please. Human Rights and Equity Commission that is centralized to how the county advises equity across all systems. Again, really working really closely with Cherie and the work that she's doing. Countywide and cross-cutting public-facing mechanisms that builds trust and transparency. It's really focused on the systems level patterns and accountability, and it's designed to connect and elevate issues across silos. I would think about it as like something that folks can come and present these issues again, and they would have a place to go. And again, accessibility to services, right? I know that's something that George was really passionate about and wanted to make sure that we talked about access. Next slide. Legal considerations. Be precise in equity language, framework around disparity and outcomes, access and equity services, and countywide responsibility to ensure fair treatment, including pronouns usage and all of that. All of these things, we're no lawyers, so we will let the county lawyers and the Board of Supervisors wordsmith what needs to be in there. And again, we didn't want to list all the different communities that our county represents. We just wanted to make sure that it was inclusive language. Next slide. And so bottom line, this is really, it's not a question of whether we believe equity and accountability, human rights should be permanent commitments to the county or temporary priorities that shift with politics. It's really, we believe that they're fundamental, then it belongs in the charter, whether they are protected by voters and not controlled by political cycles. This is something that's going to be permanent until the voters or the voters choose not to have it anymore. And again, bottom line, this ensures all residents are treated fairly, equitably, and have meaningful access to county services now and forever. And I think that's it. That's our slides.
Okay, I want to thank Monica, Dana, and Kimberly for the presentation. And now I'd like to open it up to the full committee for questions. Julie?
So a few different things. I will start with number 1. I am in favor of the language absent the final line. So if you pull the final line, it's very similar to how the language is composed for our folks looking at the environment and climate change. If you add in county, blah, 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 shall, you've created a mandate. So whom is going to ensure compliance? What does shall look like? If the shall is challenged, what is the mechanism for addressing that challenge? So I support the framing. I don't support the final line with the creation of the mandate. Part 2, the board may. The board may already do all of those things. So a vehicle for that exists. So I don't think it's necessary to include this in the charter because, again, they already have the power to do these things. The third one, there are also a variety of commissions already in existence with the county that address a variety of the issues and concerns that you raise. So I wanted to see how attempting to create this body in the charter would not be duplicative of avenues that are already there, commissions that are already composed, because again, going back to the board may, as the board may largely do all of the things, the board may, should there be a gap in services that is found to be in existence outside of what is already there, that could again be a board policy to create an additional opportunity to highlight and address those issues. Final question, how do you think that these are going to be driven by political cycles?
I can answer that question. And then Dana, if you want to add.
I think Kimberly also had a hand up. So Kimberly may be
Okay.
having the hand up for number 1. I'm assuming that's when I see her hand up.
Yeah, I could get started. Thank you, fellow Commissioner Lind. I was wondering, would you be open? I mean, at the end of the day, we could wordsmith back and forth, right? And the importance is including these values within our charter to ensure that's actually codified in the long term. I agree with you that our county is fairly strong on these different diversity principles. However, we want to ensure this for the longevity so that in the future, it's not dictated by political cycles that we have seen that weakened the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, for example. I'm curious for that First Amendment that you had a question about for shall. Again, like we could wordsmith back and forth. And for example, we could wordsmith it back to like may be administered, for example. But again, at the end of the day, this is something that would be sent to the Board of Supervisors that we can then fully discover or discuss even further. But Monica or Dana.
Sorry, you had asked the question. Do you want to, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do you want to finish your thought or do you want me to answer?
Oh, either I was just going to pass it to Monica or Dana if they wanted to add anything.
Okay. So your question as to openness to the language, I'm opposed to shall for the reasons stated. I'm opposed to may because they may already do this. So if you amend the language to include the verbiage about promoting equity, fairness, inclusion, et cetera, fantastic, because again, aligns with the verbiage that came out of our climate change and environmental protection subcommittee. I also respectfully disagree with the assertion that these values and the county's assertion of and commitment to these values are driven by political cycles.
So who would, because let me get a pulse from those online and in the room. If you look at the written report, and I'm looking at the preamble, so the first part of it, San Mateo County affirms its commitment to dignity, civil rights, and equal participation. The county recognizes, and we go through all of that. And then county governance and public services may be administered in a manner that promotes equity, fairness, inclusion, belonging, accessibility, and opportunity for all residents. Is that what you're thinking?
No, again,
No.
going back to they may already do this.
Okay.
So
we-
we need to write in things that they may.
Okay.
So more going back to additional codification of this assertion of values.
Can I ask Julie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Would should, is that what you're saying? Would should, the word should kind of be more online, or because I think it's may and shall, I understand what you're saying, but how could we also write the language to where it's elevating that there is some type of accountability with that?
So that again goes back to the county should move forward in this way. So why do you need to make that a charter change? And then going back to the language and having a codification of assertion of values, I don't understand the necessity of the inclusion of shall, may, should, because that doesn't really inherently write in an accountability structure. So if the point is to enshrine a statement of values, absolutely, but may, shall, should, not to my perception, I don't think that is appropriate by virtue of what the charter is supposed to do and guide, looking at the existing language throughout the document.
So Kathy and then Tom, and then are there any hands up online? No, Kim's out. Okay, and then Lillian. Eddie just raised his hand. Okay, so Kathy, Tom, Lillian, and then Eddie.
I just want to make a quick statement. I am against any change in the preamble at this point. It is a short, succinct statement, okay, that covers all the people in San Mateo County. And I have nothing against the language, okay, and the thinking behind it, but to ask the citizens of this county to consider changing such a simple, elegant statement just rubs me the wrong way. I'm sorry.
And just to remind folks, so the current preamble states, "We, the people of San Mateo County, adopt this charter to provide a local government responsive to our social, economic, physical, and environmental needs and goals in a democratic, just, and efficient manner." That's the preamble. That is the current preamble. So that's just a reminder. So Tom, and then Lillian, and then Eddie.
I think that Julie has made some pretty good observations here about the last sentence in the preamble. I would support the statement in the preamble absent the last sentence. I mean, I understand the motivation for doing it, but I think it raises too many questions and will tie the county in knots as it goes forward. Having the statement in the beginning and putting it in the charter, I think it is important. I disagree with Kathy respectfully. I think the charter preamble was written at a certain point in time. We are living at a different point in time. We have experienced the growth of multiculturalism and the benefits of multiculturalism. And a statement like this in the preamble, I think, is important, and I would support it. But I would support it without the last sentence.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it to Lillian, then Eddie, then Eliana.
No, this is more like also a question, and this will be about the committee. This will be an advisory one, because like based on what I'm seeing in the charter, the boards of commissions or the commission, it says that county boards and commissions are those required by general law and those established by an ordinance. So it seems that the board of supervisors can pass an ordinance creating the charter, the Commission of Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusive Governance, if this is tend to be advisory. Just that question.
Thank you, Lillian. So that's on Amendment 3. That's the creation of a of a body in the charter. So Eddie and Ileana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do appreciate that you all spoke with Shireen. That was my first flag. Her comments were that it needs to be very, very aligned with equity. My flags start to raise when the words independent and oversight start being brought in. So what are you overseeing, and why do you need to be independent? All commissions, boards, and committees are advisory to the city council or are advisory to the board of supervisors. I need to connect the dots why you would want, first of all, oversight, independent power, and not be advisory to the main body that is making the final decisions or providing an ordinance. Also, within your brief, it also says initiate reviews. Who are you reviewing, or what are you initiating a review of? So I would like clarification on those. Who are you reviewing? Why is it an independent, and who are you overseeing?
So I'm going to have Ileana, excuse me as I'm chewing.
Take your time.
Ileana ask her question, and then we'll punt it back to the committee.
Yeah, Eddie sort of raised it. I can get behind number one, but just to augment Commissioner Flores' concerns, I think 3 also creates fragmented accountability and confusion over who's in charge. And I think also it sets us up for conflict with federal and state regulatory schemes potentially. So I don't know. I never, having spent 38 years in county government, I never looked to San Francisco as the model on the hill. They could never get things done in that county. And I don't want to see us going down that path. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Ileana. Lilium has a comment, and then I'll punt it back.
Yeah, no, and I'm also looking at the powers and duties, and something that I see as a red flag, and I would be wrong, is that request information and data. The data that the county departments handle is really sensitive data, and I don't know how the sharing process will be, because if we're talking about the human equity and base of what you add in the preamble, we're talking about like immigration data, so I don't know how that data sharing process will be.
So we didn't say it was immigration data.
Okay.
We just said data.
Okay, then what type
Thank
of
you.
data you will be
So
requesting?
a lot of the data is public records from Shireen, also of what she's done with equity. So again, we're just looking at just what would look upon of human rights stuff, and a lot of that is public record type of things. There's no specialized data that we're trying to aggregate. I don't know if that's what you're trying to refer to.
That like data can mean any type of data, like if you have in the charter, data can be anything. So this is why I'm asking, like, what type of data you're referring to?
I think it would be more of like if someone from the community came and had like a human rights affair type of discrepancy, then it would be teaming up and asking Shireen if there is any data around that specific subject that was brought, and then seeing how can we best support that community member with the human rights affair. I'm not sure if that answers you, but we're not so much in the tweed of just trying to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It
Okay.
kind of, that's the purpose. But again, I still fall in that when I see it, and it's gonna be in the charter, just the request information, data, and presentations is that can be. So just
Got you. I can give an example. Like there was a health thing that had happened with the LGBTQ community, and we were very low in LGBTQ wellness and health services that we were receiving in this county. So data was collected through a survey by the epidemiologist department, and they have been closely working with us to see how they can get larger type of a group to kind of help with that and collect data from that. And that's public type of like knowledge as well. So that's the type of things we're sharing when we're saying about data, like something happened.
And I will,
Uh-oh.
Monica, you
Well,
wanna-
I can go, just because there's a lot of questions and I want to get to them. To also, we did meet with Shireen and we went through all of these questions with her as well. Like the advisory versus, advisory versus independent, the oversight, and all those questions, because we also didn't want to get into the weed of things. When we talk about advisory, we know because we don't have a budget, there isn't like funding, or we can't force things, right? And the reason why we want to codify it in the charter, one, we know President Corzo already wants, she's pursuing this already. So this is something that even if we don't vote on this, this is something that it will be pushed anyway. So we wanted to do a due diligence by researching and making sure that this is something that is, that we have the right language or the right understanding. The reason why it needs to be codified is because when we mentioned political cycles, right now, depending on who our board of supervisors are, they can determine which commissions are available or which commissions are no longer available. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so this would allow for this commission to be a standalone. It will continue to be standing no matter who our supervisors are. So that's to that one point. And then Lillian, you asked about the advisory. Yes, they're all technically, yes, we would be advisory, but it would be working alongside like a bigger department. And I see Kimberly's hand, so I know she wants to add something to it.
And me after.
Yeah, thank you both Monica and Dana. Yeah, so even following up on the advisory note, and also to hopefully answer another question, the point, well, as Monica basically alluded, without budget, it's difficult to enforce. And that's why we want to have the commission to have some kind of way to have a public forum in which the public can come and address any human rights affairs that they see around the county and that they have experienced. What we mean by independent is to have independent agenda setting powers, which is also very similar to how current commissions are already set up. We just wanted to explain it more in that way so it's not in any way influenced by political cycles. The other question that was brought up is if this is duplicative. And we don't believe that this is duplicative. If anything, we think this actually strengthens existing departments and the relationships between them. The reason being is because right now, a lot of these concerns are often fragmented across departments, and fragmented across commissions. While we do have really powerful, amazing commissions like the LGBTQ plus commission, and the Status of Women Commission, for example, some of the issues that we face are intersectional. So we want to provide that place so that these concerns are addressed collectively as a whole, holistically, to reduce those barriers, to identify systemic inequities, and to identify opportunities for improvement, so that we can provide that public forum where the public can address those parts of their lived experience and then support and offer to the county even further. So basically, it's like a one place for cross-cutting intersectional issues. And I know, Dana, you wanted to add something.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
gonna
I
have
think
Dana add something, then Julie
Yeah.
has a comment, and then Eddie, and then I have a suggestion, because I need to take these one by one, and we're kind of now in a circular repeating ourselves moment. So let's just, I want to keep moving this forward. Daniela has a comment, but let's go to Dana first, and then Julie, then Eddie, then Daniela.
Thank you. So I wrote down, I just wanted to also kind of share what Kimberly was talking about in regards of if other commissions are doing it. I think it should be looked upon like other commissions may not have the tools to be able to do what this Human Rights Commission can do. So I'll use mine. The LGBTQ plus commission wouldn't be able to support, unfortunately, things that may intersect like a person of color and as well as they're identifying as LGBTQ. And then they unfortunately had received some level of like discrimination or something. We probably wouldn't be able to do that because we don't have one, the capacity, and then we also don't have like the tools of what this commission would have that differs. We would be able to support and see how can we collaborate with other commissions to see how we can best support the LGBTQ plus person there. But if we're looking at it from that intersectional scope, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to do that. That's the whole part with this commission can also align as like a commission that can collaborate with other commissions instead of being that this place should just be that one all space or this place should be that one all space. More of like collaboratively, we can be that support system for that community member.
So a couple of questions and comments. So going back to you mentioning the example of the individual that you had worked with, I have many notes and also a tiny brain, so I'm flaking on the precise example, but you had mentioned work that you had done with an individual that was experiencing discrimination and harassment, right, by virtue of was it the LGBTQIA plus commission? Your example that you had an individual that was experiencing harassment that you addressed within the existing infrastructure was my point. You had cited an example. Am I identifying that? Yeah, that. So you did that within the infrastructure that already exists, right?
So the epidemiologist department of the county, they did that. Then circled back to us later because there was a big gaps and barriers. And then we had to support with that. So yes.
Right. So my point being more there was an opportunity you were able to utilize within the existing infrastructure. And then going back to trying to address things holistically, and there are challenges that existing commissions have. The holistic body is in many ways Shireen's office. And if there are issues with standing commissions, those can be addressed within those commission infrastructures. And talking about different cross priorities and individuals experiencing whatever their challenges may be by virtue of how they may or may not identify, whether that be as a member of a particular community, et cetera. There's not going to be a central commission that can meet everyone's concerns. So if you're looking for a convener to facilitate conversations and identify gaps in services, I think that would be less creating an additional commission, which also they're going back to the commentary to the degree of not creating an additional cost to the county. A commission still has to be staffed. And if you are independent, there is a very different connotation versus advisory, which are our current standing committees. So questions like you issue reports and recommendations independently, reviews, et cetera. Someone has to staff that. And so there would be an associated cost. And then to your point of this is going to move forward, whether the community moves it or the committee moves it or not, because it is a priority for President Corzo. If it is already moving as a priority for President Corzo, it is unnecessary to attempt to move this forward as a charter change, because if she's already looking to do it as a policy, it is not required to be done in the charter.
So I think for me, I'm not speaking on President Corzo comment because I think she's more so interested in it being codified into the charter. So I don't know what the conversation of moving forward. I didn't make that statement, but she is interested in it being codified in the charter so that it is a standing commission that will continue after, like, some commissions can be like here and then gone. She wants to see this one as something that will continue. I don't know, Monica, if you want it, but that's not what, yeah. President Corso.
Senate.
Oh, yes, you would like to say something, Jackie?
Everyone, I just want to, Jackie Rigoni, I'm Chief of Staff or Supervisor Corso, sitting quietly back there. I just wanted to say that this was not one of the 4 initial items that Supervisor Corso proposed, but I know she did discuss the importance of it when you met with her. So I just wanted to establish that difference.
Thank you, Jackie. So I'm going to turn it over to Eddie and then Daniela.
I just want to bring back, it was kind of a word salad about the independent oversight. If you want independent agendas, that's exactly what other commissions are doing. Every commission, committee, and board, we all have the discretion to add things to an agenda. The fact that you're calling it an independent commission because you want to guard your own agenda just doesn't connect for me. That's not the correct procedural process. I'm sorry. The other thing that I want to bring up is why not just move this through like every other commission is created for the county? The Parks and Rec Commission, LGBT, aging, etc. I think that's where this needs to live. If I know, and I don't want to speak for Madam President Corso, but you can codify this through an ordinance, and she could move it, and it could live, and it could say whereas, and it could say a permanent commission. My question is, why are we doing this through a charter? There are mechanisms, there are avenues, there are vehicles. An ordinance is one, very practical, with the same merit, the same important in bringing it forth. And it could be done just like every other commission. And then they will have appointing authority and purpose and structure and appointment process. I'm just falling to connect the dots on first it is independent, then it's not independent, it's just an independent agenda. And I'm still not clear on who they will be providing oversight of and what like inquiries they're gonna direct to review. This is not how bodies that are advisory in full 100% advisory to the Board of Supervisors are created.
Thank you, Eddie. Daniela?
Thank you. So with the preamble first, yes, Tom, you're right. It's very old. I was looking at that. The question for me is the who, the where, the why, and the what for is a preamble created. None of that is answered to me by this proposal. The current proposal addresses, the current preamble addresses all of those questions because it needs to be who created it, what for, where, and why was it created. Unfortunately, none of this is covering it for me. Moreover, as an immigrant, minority, female, underpaid, the lowest paid rates in the community of the United States, I don't necessarily want to be more exalted in a document like a charter. I would rather feel like I belong to all than I have to be mentioned as a different part. I think that needs to be brought to practice and not through theory. And moreover, in regard to the commissions, sadly, I agree that the commissions aren't working properly. I have to say that we have a lot of room for that, but we have 60 plus commissions. Creating another one is not gonna solve any of these issues, unfortunately. So yes, I think the preamble needs to work and be a little bit more direct and abroad into answering these questions in order for me to support it.
So I'm gonna make an attempt at something, and feel free to shoot this one down. But I want to take these one by one. So with the charter preamble, I've been hearing the whole discussion, and I'm going to read you something that I wrote based on what was provided. And Kathleen, I really respect, Kathy, what you said about preamble is simple, and because I supported the change with climate, this is why I'm putting this forth. So San Mateo County affirms its commitment to the dignity, civil rights, and equal participation of all residents in a manner that promotes equity, fairness, inclusion, belonging, accessibility, and opportunity for all residents. That would be preamble language that recognizes what I think this committee is trying to do in expanding the language without, and Daniela, I appreciate what you just said, calling out particular groups, because I looked at the list of groups and I'm like, ooh, there's more. And you could really get into more. So that's just something for the group to consider, or not changing the preamble on this issue. But maybe if we could land something with this one. So thoughts?
I like it rather than the final for all residents because it's duplicative of the opening sentence. So just period after opportunity.
So it would read, San Mateo County affirms its commitment to the dignity, civil rights, and equal participation of all residents in a manner that promotes equity, fairness, inclusion, belonging, accessibility, and opportunity.
I
Daniela?
personally think we're still losing the why and the what for.
Okay. So, yeah, we are missing that. So, Tom?
I just want to say, I hate to see the reference to older adults eliminated so casually. That was an attempt at humor.
Okay, Tom, because I'm thinking to myself,
but
I'm feeling like an older adult right at this moment in time.
But I think the idea you have given us is a good one. I like that.
But we need a why and a what for. So, Kathleen, I know you.
I'm sorry, can I respond?
Oh, sure, because
I agree with you, and I think we really need to educate ourselves into understanding that an aging adult shouldn't be a different citizen, because it's not, shouldn't be underrepresented, because we are all aging adults in transit, and we don't realize that. So sorry, Tom, I agree with you.
So
can we just mention?
I'll just reiterate, okay? I appreciate the amended language, okay, of this, but I also voted no on the environmental. I just think it's simple. It covers, it's not specific. It just covers everything that you're trying to say here, okay? And then it's up to our governance, okay, to make it work. So I'll just repeat it. I'll shut up. And I wouldn't mind a bio break for like 10 minutes if that's possible.
Sure. Do we want to take a break? Dana, I can tell you want to say something. Everybody can kind of take turn. I won't call for a vote. I mean, but if because there is only one, there's two stalls. So there's two stalls. So everybody get up when you need to. Dana, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that neither Monica, Kimberly, nor me brought this proposal apart. This was one that was already there when we met. And then originally there was other proposals that was brought, and it was the committee that actually decided that maybe we should do research of those things under the Human Rights Commission. That's how things happen. So I understand what you're saying, Jackie, but we didn't bring this. I'm open to talking to President Corzo, but we none of us brought that proposal.
I will also like to add that even in the preamble, we are open to wordsmithing this. We're not married to this language. We were just wanting to be thorough and wanting to make sure that we do our due diligence and like what does codifying equity and human rights would look like within our charter. So we are totally open to switching it to what Madam Chair presented.
I agree. I'm also very open to that. I thought the language was great, Madam Chair. So thank you. I also wanted to share codifying also mean that, and sometimes, and this is me speaking, with these conversations about various different human right affairs and things that maybe happen in our political like spaces that we're in, there's two sides. And so when giving codification, that means folks that agree can speak. And then we also want to be intentional in bringing in the voices that may not agree, but still making it feel like it's a safe space where they can kind of speak on that. So if you're asking though, why, for me, making that a safe space, if you codify it for voices to be elevated and those conversations can be had in those spaces without anyone feeling fearful of what may happen if they do bring that voice to that space. And I'm speaking, of course, for folks that may feel on the other side of various different affairs that may come up.
Thank you, Dana. I'm not questioning your why. I'm trying to specify how a preamble should be completed. Like if you want, it's pretty much like a mission and like the objective of this document. So it needs to tell me why this document is created, not why you're doing what you're doing, but why this document is being created. So it has to be clear into the who is creating it, why is creating it, what for, and where. So that way it's clear so everybody can understand it. What you presented, which is great because it's inclusive, it's not telling me why are you creating it. It's not telling me the problem you're trying to solve. It's not about, I understand your why, but it's not clear in the preamble.
Just to clarify, what we suggested in the preamble is adding the following paragraph, not making what we wrote the whole preamble. So it's not, this wouldn't be what the preamble now says. It's just adding additional language, not this is what we wanted to say. It's so the why it was created, it's already exists in the first paragraph of the preamble. So it already explains this preamble is made for the county of San Mateo, all that stuff. So this is an additional paragraph. We're not saying change it to this. We're saying this is an additional to, but we're also, again, open to wordsmithing where it makes sense so that it's not like a page. You know what I mean? It could be one paragraph, we can wordsmith it.
So kind of to go back, I had to go back through my notes because someone came up with the, because this subcommittee is entitled Human Rights and Equity Commission, whether to codify a Human Rights and Equity Commission directly into the charter to provide constitutional weight to the body overseeing DEI initiatives and equity in service delivery. That is what the committee was to study. So every committee can go beyond what the scope was, but that was what we voted on. So the committee chose to come up with 3 different options. The preamble, sorry, it's Amendment 1, the charter preamble, additional duties to supervisors. Thank you, Monica. And then the Human Rights and Equity Commission. So you added 2 things basically to it. I think again, the committee was looking for ways to frankly be more inclusive and give this bigger committee options to consider. So beyond the scope. Okay, so in order to move this forward, we have preamble language. So I want to take them one by one. We have modified preamble language. We can vote things up or down. Now it's up to the committee to say, how would you like to proceed? Because I
Are
need
you
somebody
open to an
yeah.
amendment being, or a motion being offered
Yes.
on Amendment 1? I move that we adopt the language suggested in Amendment 1 as modified by the chair.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Tom and a second by Julie and Mark. So I heard them both. So the language would be, San Mateo County affirms its commitment to the dignity, civil rights, and equal participation of all residents in a manner that promotes equity, fairness, inclusion, belonging, accessibility, and opportunity, period. And that preamble language is going to be with the existing preamble language and the resilience language that our county attorney is going to come back and say, here's what we propose is the new preamble. So it's all going to be wrapped into one. Daniela, do you?
Would like to offer a second choice on the preamble.
So should we do that?
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine.
No, we can do that. Why don't you say what it is and then we'll figure out which, because we have a
Yeah.
motion in a second.
No, let's do that because honestly, I was going to just add a little bit of this into the existing preamble to avoid having to make it. I think it has to be very concise in order to make it clear to. I mean, it's my understanding that we have to use 8th grade language in most documents, if I'm not mistaken, right? So by law. In order for making it into public. So making it concise and simple for the community to understand. I think the more sometimes it gets more confusing.
Absolutely. And that's why I would defer to our attorney because we have resilience, preamble language. We may or may not have this, and we have existing. So somehow simple, and I don't think we can wordsmith it tonight. Well, you're looking at me like it's not going to happen. Yeah, we can't ask you to do that. So you understand where we're kind of thought process.
I think that I do, Madam Chair. I would encourage that whatever the recommendation to the board is going to be, that that the motion be clear about what that specific recommendation is.
So
to the extent that there's different additions being proposed to the preamble, I would recommend that the committee be clear whether there's something being replaced, if there's something just being supplemented. I think that level of detail should be included in whatever is finally recommended.
So Brian, can I propose that, and Eddie, you have your hand up. So before I'm going to get my thought out. So what I'm going to propose, because this is kind of sticky. Eddie, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to say that it sounded to me like Daniela was introducing a substitute motion. If that is the case, it needs to be second, and then we can vote on her substitute motion. And if it passes, then that passes. If not, we go back to the first initial motion, which is, I guess, the original.
So, Daniela, what would your suggested amendment?
Yes.
Dana.
Don't we have to do something about the motion that's on the floor?
So
the substitute motion, it takes precedent over the initial motion.
There can be a substitute motion.
Okay, so
Brian, can we?
Yes, there can. Yes, what
what it
Councilmember
said.
Flores said is correct. There can be a substitute motion. I'm not sure if there's been a second yet, but there could be a
We
substitute
don't
motion.
know what it is.
And typically, those would be, the call for a vote on those would be taken in reverse order.
Got it.
Last first and moving backward.
So Daniela, you propose your substitute motion.
Okay, I wanted to read this and see what you guys think. We, the people of San Mateo County in its diversity, adopt this charter to provide a local government responsive to our social, economic, physical, and environmental needs and goals in a democratic, just, and efficient manner in its commitment to dignity, civil rights, and equal participation of all residents.
I
So-
think that sounds great, except it doesn't have the climate in it.
Maybe
That-
just
that-
said environment. Express need / desire, yeah?
I can explain why. The environment is already in the preamble.
That's not my point. My point is it's not relative, or it is not the same thing as the language that we already voted to move forward from that group as it pertains to enshrining commitment to environmental protections and climate change. That's my point. We've already got one that we moved forward, which is very different than just calling out environment as priority.
Okay, I just read the preamble. It's how it's written. I didn't modify that.
No, but we voted earlier tonight to move forward preamble language that had the environment. That was a couple of votes ago. So that was the vote where,
Okay.
sorry, yeah, sorry. So Dana, what were you gonna say?
Let's just go. I was gonna say, I was trying to figure out what was going on with the motion that was already on the floor. So I'm
So-
still on that one.
Okay.
In
So-
my spaces, you have to address that motion.
So what Eddie made the point, and this is really taking me back to like Robert's Rules of Order. So somebody could make a substitute motion, and if the substitute motion got a second, then that could override the first motion if it was voted, so you take them in reverse order. I'm trying to explain it from a legal perspective. I forgot about that because it happens so rarely in meetings.
It does.
So, but Daniela has a motion on the floor with alternate language.
I don't know what that language
Do you want to read it again?
Okay, so we, the people of San Mateo County in its diversity, adopt this chapter to provide a local government responsive to our social, economic, physical, and environmental needs and goals in a democratic, just, and efficient manner in its commitment to the dignity, civil rights, and equal participation of all residents.
But that doesn't override the amendment that was previously adopted.
No.
Well, we're getting ourselves kind of confused here.
Yes.
Okay, because it was never clear with the environmental preamble whether it was going to be written into the original or whether it's just an addition. So now we're talking about language that is an addition, okay? And Daniela's talking about restating the preamble. So I don't know how, I personally don't know how to move forward with this, okay? Because it's very confusing. I no longer understand what the environmental statement is going to be.
So, Brian, got it.
Madam Chair, I agree that it's important for the record to be clear on this point. And so I would say that I understood the motion on the environmental issue to be an addition to the existing preamble. And I do think it's worth clarifying the record on that point before moving forward on motions for further changes to the preamble.
The language in our recommendation, which was the language that was voted on, says add language to the county charter preamble, and then gives the quoted language. So that motion was to add language.
But unfortunately, that language is not proper English for the current preamble. So it's almost, I mean, we don't have exact language, and I don't know whether we need it or not. That's a question for Brian, whether the intent is good enough. Okay? Because if we can clarify that it's the intent, and then maybe Brian goes off and then drafts what the eventual will look like, then I think we can move forward.
So through the chair, either is fine. So the committee has the discretion. If you want to propose specific language to the board, you can do that. If you want to propose that the preamble be amended to address an issue or to address the spirit of the recommendation, whether it be climate change, et cetera, that could be done as well. But I would not recommend, and this gets back to your earlier question, that you vote on the general spirit of a change today with the expectation that language is going to be drafted for the report. I think it would be sufficient to either vote on specific language today or vote on making the recommendation to the board along general lines for the board to decide. Ultimately, the recommendation would go to the board, and if the board wanted to pursue it, the board would have the ability to prepare whatever language or to direct the preparation of whatever language they would like.
So what Brian just said was what I understood the intent of Tom and Karen's motion. The preamble would address the climate. And then that would be the recommendation to the board that then addresses the exact proper English language. When I suggested the change to this preamble, it was with that in mind. It wasn't, and then I think Daniela was looking to make it easier and wrap it all into one, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to stick with my original motion, the intent to have this changed to reflect the work of the Equity Commission, but not to try to rewrite the preamble. So, I mean, I think we should wait till Daniela comes back and then see if there is a second to what she's proposing, and then we'll go from there. And I'll take a breath for a second.
And even if the board chooses to move forward with these, the suggested language is not going to be what they put on the ballot. So it'll get rewritten probably multiple times.
Good point.
It happens a lot.
So Danielle, we wanted to wait till you came back. No, please. So what we just talked about was what was voted on with the climate was the intent. Brian, can you just show that? He explained it better.
You need some water, Brian?
It's no, so here, I'll take it. So the language that was proposed by the resiliency group was, here's suggested language. We'd like the board to figure it out and get some proper English language that addresses climate. I mean, that's, and they gave suggested wording. We voted on that, but we're not wordsmithing, the preamble tonight. So then when I made the motion with what I was suggesting, it was in that same spirit. Here's what I would suggest to include in the preamble in some way, shape, or form. And then the board decides what they want to do. And then you were trying to make it easier for us and just kind of rewriting the preamble. But because we had already addressed one thing, we kind of went down that path. So I'm going to say, do we have, like, Daniela made a suggestion. So do we have a second to hers? Because if we don't, then it reverts to the first motion and then we go from there. No harm, no foul at this point. Okay, so there is no second, so we're going to go back to the original and then we can vote on that as a preamble. That's okay.
So just procedural, does that mean it's on the record what Daniela said? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
I'll get it from her
Yeah.
as well to make sure.
I'm so sorry.
Dana.
I just really want to, can we kind of also, well, we have the motion, but can we discuss the proposal? Because
The 2 and 3, the amendments? You wanna-
not so much that, but that it was brought to the space. I think it would be helpful for the person that brought the proposal to maybe speak on it, because again, it wasn't us three. Thank you.
So,
And that's districts too, so that may be Jackie from President Corzo's office.
so it wasn't in this, I went back to the 6th.
It is
I
from,
need the minutes of the meeting after we decided.
It was me. I'm
it,
sorry.
it,
I didn't have
it was from February 3rd.
Yeah. So that was my initial thing. It was a conversation with President Corso early on, and then it was something that I brought to the board after that.
So that's where President Corzo's originally came from. Yeah. Right. So we did have a meeting with President Corzo on our end, but this was brought, I guess, for us, Jacqueline Faust is District 2's representative. So that's where the connection is from us on is that's from President Corzo, who oversees Districts 2. Are we under? Got you. I got you. Yeah.
So yes, so I looked it up as well. So, and yep. Okay, we're all good? All right, we're gonna, then there'll be a vote on proposed addition to the preamble with language. And I
So
know
we're
you have it.
voting on your language,
Yes.
the language that you read.
Kim,
Okay.
I don't need to read it again, do I? Are we?
No.
good?
So we're going to that one, not the one that Daniela.
Yes.
Okay. Tom Adams,
Yes.
Vo Amibe is absent. Lillian Perzavilla.
Yes.
Karen Chapman.
Yes.
Eddie Flores.
Yes.
Jacqueline Faust.
Yes.
Roseanne Faust.
Yes.
Lynette Garcia is absent. Marquise Loop.
Yes.
Nathan Healy.
Yes.
Dana Johnson.
Yes.
Daniela Jonditude.
No.
Julie Lind.
Yes.
Monica Mija.
Yes.
Ileana Rodriguez.
Yes.
Kathleen Wheeler.
No.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I want to thank everyone for their patience, for everyone giving input. Thank you, and being patient. We're 2.5 hours in and we have 2 more things to move on. So Amendment 2, Board of Supervisors, to amend Article 2, proposed addition to Section 206. The Board of Supervisors shall have the powers and shall perform blah, blah, blah. Promote equitable access to county program services and opportunities for all residents of San Mateo County. It lays it all out there, adopt policies, programs, and advisory structures. The purpose is to embed equity into decision-making, ensures accountability at the highest level. So,
Thank you for the language. And thank you everyone for their patience. It was a very good, intentional conversation. I just want everyone to feel how you feel is how you feel. I have no reservations against that. So I heard a lot of sorries, but please don't say sorry. It's okay.
thank you. Thank you. So now we're in Amendment 2. So Do we have a motion and a second? Any discussion? We've already had some discussion on this.
A motion.
Thank you, Monica. So a motion by Monica, a second by Jackie.
Okay, Tom Adams,
Pass.
Bo Amibe is absent. Lillian Perez Avila,
No.
Karen Chapman,
Yes.
Eddie Flores,
I'm gonna abstain.
Jacqueline Faust,
Yes.
Roseanne Faust,
No.
Lynette Garcia is absent, and Marquise Loop,
No.
Nathan Healy,
No.
Dana Johnson,
Yes.
Daniela Jondatube,
No.
Julie Lind,
No.
Monica Mija,
Yes.
Ileana Rodriguez,
No.
Kathleen Wheeler,
No.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
All right, thank you for that. And we are moving on to Amendment 3. And this is the establishment of a Human Rights and Equity Commission as a body of the County of San Mateo to exist within the county charter. And the duties and everything is laid out in here. So again, we've had a substantive discussion on this. Does anyone want to make, Kimberly Wu has her hand up. Kimberly?
So before we go into a vote, I was wondering, before we go into a motion, I know we've had substantive discussion on it, but similar to how we basically amended the First Amendment that we're proposing, can we still have further discussion on this Third Amendment? Because to basic, I definitely support the Human Rights and Equity Commission with codified within the charter. And if there are issues that people have with the specific language and wordsmithing of it, that is something I would like to discuss before we motion for it. Because I would dislike for those kinds of wordsmithing to be the reason why it does not pass, for example. So I'm curious if we can open that discussion to see if people would propose any potential amendments to the wording that we do have, because we are open to hearing people's thoughts on that.
Absolutely, Kimberly. And Julie has her hand up.
So we just spent approximately like an hour-ish debating the preamble language, which is quite shorter than this. This is also a very different approach than changing the language in the preamble. There, just by virtue of the conversation that we've already had on this, there are a variety of concerns raised. I am respectfully opposed to attempting to wordsmith this live.
Kathy?
I'll just point out that that we voted to take the independent redistricting committee to the Board of Supervisors with no specifics about that commission. Okay, no extra wording as to what its objective is, et cetera, except that it is mandated by law. So I don't think any amount of wordsmithing is going to change, the flavor of what is being proposed here.
So Kathy, can I ask if there was a motion to establish a Human Rights and Equity Commission, period, nothing else, are you thinking along those lines without?
No, I
Okay.
think that this is within the purvey of the Board of Supervisors to do. Okay, and it's already in the charter that they have the ability to do that. Okay, and that would be a good thing. I would support that wholeheartedly, but not specifically put it into the charter.
And can I add something? I think that when I ask about this is an advisory, I think that I heard, oh yeah, this will be an advisory. So if it's an advisory, it's already in the charter that Board of Supervisors can create one through an ordinance. So it wouldn't change that, because like when you create this, you were thinking as an advisory body, then put it in the charter, it wouldn't make a difference because the board of supervisors can do it through an ordinance.
I think if I may, I
Monica.
think the thought behind adding it to the charter was for permanence in that aspect of like now it's in the charter that we like we have to have, if that makes sense, have to have a charter, a human rights commission versus like in any other advisory commission. It's like depending on who the board of supervisors is can come and go. This would establish like permanence, which is what the difference when talking to and doing all our research is what was the distinction that we received as like this would be something that we would like to see is the permanence part rather than just having it with the way that all the other commissions are, where it could come and go no matter who is around.
So Eddie, Daniela, and then Kimberly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think it is a matter of wordsmithing. I think it's a process issue here. And I think we all have identified already, and I don't want to continue saying the same thing over. This could be established through an ordinance through the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. Daniela?
I echo Julie and Eddie. I think if we have all boards, just put in one specifically, it's a disservice already.
Kimberly?
I'm curious if people, I hear the concerns about wordsmithing, and I definitely agree this is longer than the preamble. I'm curious if people, I also hear the concerns on those notes about like the undermining value. I think that's why I'm curious if people would be open to just having this amendment to establish a Human Rights and Equity Commission, period. So the rest of it could be determined. I think the reason why it's important to establish it as like within the charter is to really ensure, as you mentioned, permanence. And I understand the suggestion that it can be done through an ordinance, but I think it's powerful to be seen as a charter to recognize our commitment to human rights and dignity, not just to say as a value, but to actually have it implemented. I think we've seen time and time again and how political climates can redefine who is considered as not belonging anymore. And that's why it's important to have these kind of commissions, have this permanence to withstand any of these political cycles. That's also the advice we did get from the San Francisco Human Rights Commission to have it codified in the charter. And that is something that we have discussed with other people that we've mentioned who seem supportive of codifying it within the charter to establish that permanence. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Kimberly. So we have Julie and then Lillian. And then I'm going to call the question because people are fading.
The answer to your question personally is no. Also, what you just said is not what you wrote. You wrote an independent oversight commission, which is different than adding a commission or advisory board, which the vehicle already exists to do. To reiterate a prior point, adding Human Rights Commission into the charter, then that opens the door. Are the multitude of other existing commissions less important or valuable because they have not been written into the charter? So I continue to not believe the charter is an appropriate vehicle for this. That does not diminish the importance of identifying gaps in services and being respectful and supportive of all of these different populations and folks in different spaces. But I continue to think this is not appropriate for the charter, and how you proposed it is not how you have stated it. And the continued rhetoric about dependence upon election cycles and how values are established or populations and different individuals have rights or value, I think also is not factual and does a disservice to our elected officials.
Yeah, something else that I want to add. Yeah, I wanted to add that if we open one, especially if this is advisory, because it's back to that, right? then the other, I believe that we have more than 20 commissaries, then they will ask because it wouldn't be fair. And they also will be like, why we're not in the charter. So let's just point that. And also, I've been looking at the only commission that is on the charter is the civil service, and that's appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So it's the fact that you're telling, or one of the arguments is that it's to protect that from the political climate. If we have a Board of Supervisors with a different political climate, then they will appoint people who will agree with whatever the deciders are, and then the purpose of having of the charter, it wouldn't matter, because like they will appoint people who believe on what they wanted to believe. So I think that I echo what Julie says, and also Daniel said.
Can I just say that's all assumption? You're assuming that other commissions would have a certain problem with it being in charter. We don't know. Right. And I'm one, and I don't have a problem with it. So that's the whole thing. We're assuming that this is what those commissions say.
But
We
they-
don't know.
But basically, then you're assuming that we need to have it in the charter.
No,
Because
no.
if we don't, let me finish. Because if you're telling me that we can do this through an ordinance, the Board of Supervisors can either do it or don't. That is an assumption as well.
And you're going against your own language because you're saying equity and you're not being equity with all the commissions and boards.
Well, you are being equity. That's the whole reason for having it.
If you put one,
to
you
meet
put
everyone's
all of
needs.
them.
Yeah, but that's how you meet people's needs. So the appointed commissioners would be an equitable body that would be meeting various different needs.
You wouldn't be equal with all the commissions.
Equals different from equity. Equality is different from that.
Okay, so I'm gonna, Eddie has his hand up, and then I really want to call the question on this one. Because people really are getting tired, and here's something that I'm gonna say to the group. So there was a reason that we established these committees months ago. And we had previews of this because I knew when it came down to the wire, which is tonight, people were going to have very strong opinions about everything. That's who we are as people. And so it is a really complex issue, all the things that we're talking about. And so let's give Eddie the final word, and then we're gonna a motion in a second, and then if they want to if anybody wants to bring it forward. Eddie?
Madam
one
Chair,
final
thank you.
comment.
I was just going to call the question, so you're good. I'm good.
Okay. So does someone want to make a motion to establish a Human Rights and Equity Commission within the county charter?
I strongly motion.
Okay, thank you, Dana. And then do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second by Monica, correct? So now we will go to a voice vote.
Tom Adams,
No.
Vil Amive is absent. Lillian Prezavilla,
Nope.
Karen Chapman,
Yes.
Eddie Flores,
No.
Jacqueline Faust,
Yes.
Roseanne Faust,
No.
Lynette Garcia is absent. Mark Hayslip,
No.
Nathan Healy,
No.
Dana Johnson,
Yes.
Daniela Jondatub,
No.
Julie Lind,
No.
Monica Mija,
Yes.
Ileana Rodriguez,
No.
Kathleen Wheeler,
No.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
So I want to thank everyone for their patience, for their commitment, for everything that happened tonight. We had a really robust discussion. All of these notes, the Board of Supervisors is going to hear that we want them to do things beyond the charter. I think that's been clearly said on a Human Rights and Equity Commission, on resiliency piece, on a whole host of things. So I'm really proud of the work that all the groups and the committees did. I thank our staff. We have one final meeting, April 27th. Please come back to see the written report, and please join me on May 5th in the morning at the Board of Supervisors. I can't thank you enough. It's been, just a privilege to work with all of you. So we are adjourned.
All right, the time is 8:16. The meeting is adjourned.